I mean, did we ever do an overview of how the manager works in general? Because I mean, that's kind of the Grand Central Station of Loom, isn't it? Free to plug in. Great. Oh, and I'll just mute my computer and speaker as well, so that you can talk. So let me know when you've joined that meeting. All right, so this is week 2. We're doing the Loom meeting, and Will is going to walk us through some more Loom concepts, probably the manager. And then we'll do another thing after that.
Yeah, mute that before we get the feedback.
Thanks, Will.
All right.
Do you need to move where you can see a little bit better? Like out of here.
Um,
Are you sharing your screen yet?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Manager data set. Okay. So manager is relatively straightforward. It's basically just the main wrapper for interfacing with Loom. Constructor for it just contains the name of the device and the instance number. You should probably change the device name to something other than device if you're using these examples, just based off of that directly. And the instance number just maps to whatever arbitrary number you want to be. Really doesn't matter unless you're using radios, in which case you should follow the zeros for hub and 1 through whatever is every other device. Register module. This is used not really by the user at all. This is only on backend stuff. It needs to be public because we're not inheriting from manager. So we need to be able to call it from other classes anyway. Basically, it just takes the current module that we've created and adds it to a list in the manager class that has the name of the device mapped to the module pointer. So the fact that the reason it's a pointer is because all of the classes in Loom are different in functionality and whatnot, but they all inherit from module. And module is basically the entire base class of Loom, so that allows us to actually interface with a bunch of different modules with one call.
And so this is one that INO, when you are adding some component of Loom, you register it with manager, like that's that thing there.
Yeah, it does that automatically as soon as you construct it. Oh, am I actually? I am mute. Okay. Yeah, it does it automatically as soon as you construct the module. Like this. As soon as you call that part there, it automatically registers it. Get document is used less now because I changed how the modules actually store data. But basically, it just returns a reference to the main JSON document in the manager. You can use that if you need data from the JSON at all. Add data is just adds a arbitrary piece of JSON to the main document, and it just takes in whatever name you want the module to be called, then whatever the data is called inside the module, and then data is a template because it can be whatever kind of data you want, because JSON will just parse it like normal. Begin serial this should be called pretty much at the start of your setup, and it will sit there and wait for 20 seconds and until either you open the serial monitor or that 20 seconds expires, and then it will continue with the code execution. It just gives you some time to open the serial interface so you can see all the printouts. Initialize calls the initialize method on every small or sub module that's been registered with the manager. So that allows us to universally initialize all the sensors with one function call. Measure pretty much the same thing, except with the measure function. So it takes data from the sensors and stores it in the module. It doesn't actually package it yet into JSON. That's what the package method does. It just collects data from the sensors and then waits. Package takes the data we've collected from all the modules and stores it in a global JSON document inside the manager. Power up, power down, for early self-explanatory. Not all the sensors use them, but some of them need to be like reinitialized after the device wakes back up from sleep. And so those that do, you can put code in these functions and it'll be called when it wakes back up. Display data just prints out the JSON document in a nice serialized, pretty format, so you can look at all the data. Pause will just wait for however long you say. It doesn't use delay because delay results in offset like time, kind of, because we're halting the entire processor basically. Yeah, so you basically have a while loop that checks the milliseconds, and whenever you set the MS there, it basically takes the current time and adds that time to it and waits until it's greater than that. This gets the full JSON document as a string. You can get the device name, set the device name, get the instance number, set the instance number after that initial constructor call there. This will get the serial number of the feather that you're running on as a string. This also doesn't really get used publicly, neither do these. They're just methods to make it easier to diagnose issues for people who don't necessarily know what's entirely going on. If you're using a Hypnos, then the likelihood that all your sensors are connected to the Hypnos is very high. And so if you call initialize before you actually enabled the Hypnos rails, then it will probably freeze and say nothing. So I basically have a check to see if we're using Hypnos. If so, set this to true inside the manager. And then when we enable it, disable the Hypnos, it will say set enable state. And so if we try and call initialize before we say enable Hypnos, it will like tell you, hey, that's not gonna work. Yeah, this will return, this creates a new JSON object inside the main contents, like, I guess it's an array really in the JSON document that with the name, with the module name. So basically this creates a new module in the JSON document for us to store data inside that package call. Really, you aren't going to be using any of these outside of writing code. So like for people who are just using like the Loom interface, you're not going to be touching most of these. You're really only going to be interfacing with a couple of these, mostly these here.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of utility in being able to pull a sensor value out of a JSON document, do something with it, and then push some other value into that JSON document, right?
Yeah.
So what are those functions?
Manager here. We'll add data.
Data.
We'll add data back, or generic data back into the document.
Right. Then if I wanted to pull like the SHT30 temperature sensor.
So yeah, those methods or those classes have their own individual getters to just return the data directly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then get packet numbers will return whatever the correct packet number is. Pretty much. Some like under the hood stuff. The reason this register thing originally just used to be a module about pushback with this on it, but since we have sometimes multiple I2C sensors with the same name but a different address, we need to check if the device has already been initialized with that name, and if so, then we need to change the name of the device to something else so that it actually doesn't overwrite the first one. And so in this case, it'll just append an underscore followed by the address that the I2C device is located at. Yeah. Yeah, or it was recently fixed. It was added a while ago.
Right.
Yeah, most of the stuff is just under the hood, like initializing manager stuff. This one's a bit of data sheet voodoo magic, but
Yes, it's just copy and paste it.
yeah, kind of. The what's his name?
Okay.
Kurt wrote this.
Yeah. Are there any functions that you think you will like walk you through? I feel like you need to walk through some of this. Figure out what that means. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about package right here. So you're clearing a doc.
Yeah, you clear the main document every time because after a certain point, what happens is when you try and change the value of something in the JSON document, it's just a bug with Arduino JSON. Too many times, it just starts to null out randomly. And the solution for that is to clear the document every cycle and basically repopulate it. And that fixes it.
All right.
That was actually, I found that bug fix on the Arduino forums, I think, because of that.
Yeah, so it's actually pretty critical thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
This just sets the type to data. We really don't use any other type. That's why it's like hard coded in there. Yeah, so basically the format of the JSON document is at the top. It just says type equals data, and then you have a object called ID that has name and instance as sub keys in the JSON. Sometimes if you're using Max, it will have an IP there too that allows you to like, so it knows where it's communicating. And then yeah, so it just sets the name, instance number directly to the manager ones. Contents is where all the sensor data is stored. It's just an array that yeah, we're just creating an array called contents. Then we basically hard code in and create the packet object at the top, and then we go through each of these modules, check if the module is initialized first, then package the data specifically for that. And if it's not enabled or if it's not initialized, then it will tell us that and then not do anything, carry on. And then we increment the packet number every time it's packaged. Yeah, this. So modules is an array, or it's not array, it's a vector, but inside the vector, it's using a pair so that it maps to the name as a string to the actual module pointer object. And so by calling .second, it's saying we want that second element in the pair. And since it's a pointer, we have to do the whole like. Okay. That's effectively the same thing as dereferencing it and then calling dot whatever. But yeah. Yeah. What's up?
It's in dendrometers file.
Okay.
So it's like in transmit.
Oh, for the LoRa stuff?
Yeah. It's Loom LoRa.
Okay.
Yeah. And so
Is it transmit? Or is it send?
it's dendrometer hub that I know.
Well, I mean, I just need to know which Loom function it's calling.
Oh, so yeah, it's in loop. It's loop. Because like Connor said, this 4 lines of code is like how you convert LoRa to 4G. So I was wondering how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, we could just
maybe that's another
time.
time.
Move on to the topic.
Okay, sure.
So let's go ahead and stop this. And then we can,
Stop the.
yeah, I'll just stop the recording there. We're gonna move to the topic here. So it sounds like you want you to pull up the